You've probably heard this advice before. Just change your thoughts. Affirmations, visualization, positive self talk, and maybe you've tried it. You wrote down the new beliefs, you repeated them daily, you wanted them to stick. And sometimes they did. And for a while, you felt motivated, confident, capable. But then came that one hard day, a rejection, a trigger, a moment of stress. And suddenly, your old beliefs came flooding back like they'd never left. But why does this happen? If you've mentally chosen a better belief, why can't it hold under pressure? Why does it feel like your mind says one thing, but your body believes another? Therefore, today we're going to dive into the emotional root system of belief because you can't uproot what's stuck in your nervous system through logic alone. In other words, you can't think your way out of what was felt into place. Hi, my name is Campbell, and welcome to episode 4 of Breaking the Belief Trap. And so far, we've explored the invisible prison of limiting beliefs, where they come from, and how they sabotage your potential by triggering protective loops. Now we go deeper to the layer that most people ignore, the emotional wiring underneath the thought. And here's where most people have a misunderstanding. Beliefs are not just ideas you think, they're conclusions you feel. And those feelings are rooted in emotional experiences, usually from childhood, that were never really processed or only adapted to. And the younger you were when the belief formed, the more emotional weight it carries. Why? Because children don't rationalize pain, they internalize it. They assume if this happened to me, it must be about me. So if you were shamed for speaking up, the belief became, I'm too much. If love was given only when you performed, the belief became, I have to earn my worth. If safety meant staying quiet and being invisible, the belief became, if I shine, I'll get hurt. But here's the thing. Those beliefs didn't start out as thoughts. They started as feelings. And those feelings created emotional encoding or imprinting. Think of it this way. If a belief is a weed growing in your garden, the thought is your stem and the emotion is the root. You can chop down the stem all you want, but if you don't deal with the root, uprooting it, it grows back. Therefore, if you want lasting change, you can't just challenge your thoughts. No, you have to heal the emotions that keep them alive. And this is where most people are so stuck in the affirmation trap. They declare, I'm confident, but beneath, their body still remembers the ridicule. They say, I am worthy, but their nervous system is still bracing for abandonment. The new belief doesn't land because the emotional wiring hasn't been updated. Let me give you a real world example from the world of leadership. Imagine someone who grew up being told their ideas were stupid or unrealistic. Fast forward 20 years later, that person is now in a position of leadership, building a business, and even maybe doing well. And yet, every time they have to pitch themselves or share something that is bold, their throat closes, their palms begin to sweat, their heart races. Why? Because their body is still protecting them from the emotional pain of being humiliated. And that's the emotional root system at work. It doesn't care about logic. It cares about safety. And here's where it gets even deeper. Your nervous system records emotional experiences like a camera, viscerally, vividly, somatically. This means that your triggers today are often echoes from emotional moments in your distant past. So when you feel panic before a new opportunity, it's not always the fear of the unknown speaking. It might be fear of repeating an old wound. But that's also the key to your freedom, because when you can trace the belief back to the emotion and trace the emotion back to the moment, you can finally begin to release it, not just intellectually, but somatically. So, how do you even start that process? Let me walk you through a simplified version of a 3-step method that I teach my clients. Step number 1 is locating the emotion, not just the thought. So instead of asking, what am I thinking right now? Ask yourself, what am I feeling in my body? Is it tension in my chest, a pit in my stomach, a lump in my throat? Because these are signals to unprocessed emotions. And sometimes I even find that smells would trigger people's emotions to help them trace their belief to the origin. And that is step number 2. You want to track it to the origin. And you want to ask yourself questions like, what else or when else have I felt this? And you'll often be surprised how quickly your body remembers. It might be a moment in your childhood, a very specific memory, a feeling of being maybe shut down, abandoned, overlooked, or misunderstood. That's the emotional root. And then step number 3 is to reframe with compassion, not force. Because you can't heal belief systems by yelling at them. You heal them by honoring where they came from and showing your nervous system a new way of being. So I encourage people to say things like, of course, I learned to hide. That made sense back then, but I'm not in that place anymore. I don't need to disappear to feel safe. Therefore, belief work, my friend, isn't just mental. It's emotional. And if you've ever wondered why your growth stalls or plateaus, why certain patterns won't break, why confidence feels fleeting, it's probably not a mindset issue. It's an emotional memory issue. And once you begin releasing that memory, uprooting it, not erasing it, but seeing it clearly and reprocessing it, you create a space for a new belief to actually stick. So, what belief do you keep trying to change with your mind that might actually need healing in your heart? Think about that. Because in the next episode, we're going to explore how your identity gets fused with your beliefs and how to separate who you are from what you've learned to be. And you can watch that episode right here.